We were going to go into George Santos, but I feel like there's more pressing things.
If that's even his real name.
We've been making this joke for weeks now, and apparently now it's not his real name.
Why would you guys think that was his real name? Why would anyone that lies about everything be like, this is also my given name?
Look, guys, I don't know where you guys are from. I'm from Long Island, all right? Like, I am a born and bred Long Islander, okay? And so I know something about Long Island Republicans, especially in his district. His district is where I used to go to froofy, preppy, awesome, get your ass kicked high school. So I know the people who voted for him.
Oh, yeah.
And one of the things you have to understand about these people is that, as a rule, we're talking about some very selfish people. All right, we're talking about relatively well off. We're talking for the most part about the North Shore of Long Island, which is like the rich part of Long Island, right?
Yeah.
Nassau County.
Right? South Shore of Long Island, you're talking more like Staten Island white folk, right? But like North Shore of Long Island, you're talking about like high Brahmin white folk who are really, and I mean this in their soul, they're just in it for the tax cuts. Like they don't care what else is going on. They don't care about these like larger issues of democracy or truth. They're a bunch of Anthony Scaramucci's, all right? They're just in it for the money. And so one of the things that's surprising about the Santos thing is that the Nassau County Republican Party, again, who understand their own voters, even they're saying, yo, this is a bridge.
They are.
Like it's just too much with the lie. Like, we can get the tax cuts from anybody. We don't have to go with this lying idiot person, right? And so like, I really don't understand how the rest of the Republican Party can't get to yes on kicking Santos out of the Congress. It's not hard. They'll win it again. They'll run some other kind of stuffed suit Republican and they'll win the district again. That's not their problem. So why they have to go down the road with this liar? It's really just a situation where the National Republican Party is so committed to lies.
Yeah.
And so averse to basic truths that they are digging their heels in with the guy that even his own party on Long Island has cut bait with.
No, it's an interesting. Sorry to I didn't mean.
No, go,
please.
Not
an ideal form of communication, but I that's a fascinating way to look at it. Where it is like I don't know if you've met. In entertainment. You meet them. You're in politics. They're cover politics. You know what I'm talking about. Some people who lie so much that even they can't admit little lies, because if they did, this house of cards they've created in their brain comes tumbling down in so many other lies. So it opens the door to some legit lunatic who's just like, I don't know, say whatever to anybody, even on TV. And you're like, but they're
already
catch you.
are,
and he's
Billy.
Like, no, I don't think they, I think I'll get elected. And people are like, no. And he's like, no, that's, yeah. And then what's going to happen is I'm just going to keep going. And
you're just going to, triple down. Yeah.
So at this point, I'm like kind of cheering for him, where it's like,
he's going to go back to like the flight records of like 9/11, and be like, he's going to add his mom to them, be like, no, she did die in the second tower. Yup. He's going to create a whole, like, her resume and the time she worked at whatever financial institution. Okay. So that's important though, that I think it's like they're being consistent, at least with their liars. But you're right, like, that they might.
I mean, we can't be mad at him. That's what we do.
Right. But they'll fill this seat anyway, you're saying, even because of the way the county is and the way the district is, that they don't have to worry about losing one of their 5 seats that give them that advantage in the House.
Yeah, this all goes back to Andrew Cuomo. It's like the last and worst leave behind gift from New York Governor Andrew Cuomo. So the reason why New York fucked it up for the entire country in this election is that we went through a redistricting process because we lost one congressional seat. Now, New York, through Andrew Cuomo, passed a state constitution amendment that basically took the power of redistricting out of the hands of the New York State Senate and put it in an independent commission that still had to report to the New York State Senate. So it wasn't really separate, but okay, we have the patina of separation between redistricting and the Senate. Okay, Democrats take control of the Senate. And over I think 2018, we finally got back the New York State Senate, which for a long time had been in Republican hands. And the independent commission goes about, and I can say this the correct way on your show, Francesca. Yes. What the commission does is go about unfucking New York, okay? Because for a long time it was ruled by George Pataki, and so the district lines were already gerrymandered pro-Republican. The independent commission unfucked that and kind of put it back to formula, if you will.
There was already,
but that map was sued, and it went up to the New York State Supreme Court. It's actually technically in New York. The highest court is called the New York State Court of Appeals, which is weird because we're stupid. Anyway, went up to the highest court in New York, which was stacked 4-3 with Republicans. Right. Because one of the things that Andrew Cuomo did during his time in office was that he would give state appellate court seats to Republican lawyers and judges in order to placate the right-wing base in New York and make him more popular. You know, we see this kind of thing consistently when Democrats get in power. They treat the courts as if they are patronage positions that can be handed out to either party depending on where you need to work some political grease, right? And so the New York Court of Appeals threw out the unfucked maps and then basically let this judge in Poughkeepsie, this Republican judge in Poughkeepsie, redraw the districts for everybody in New York, all 21 congressmen. And that's how these 5 districts went from, competitive but ultimately Democratic districts to competitive but ultimately Republican districts. It's all because Andrew Cuomo kept giving state Supreme Court seats to Republicans as opposed to people in his own party. And we see this again and again when Democrats have power. They treat the courts like they're unimportant when actually they're the most important thing.
Yes, and I just
who's the most famous resident of Poughkeepsie is, right? Snooki. That's Snooki. So you guys gave a judge in Poughkeepsie home of Snooki.
Yeah, we gave it to her people to draw the map with crayons, basically.
Good job.
And that's why New York looks the way it looks.
And Kevin McCarthy, I feel like, should thank New York. Honestly, like at that point, should thank a Democrat.
New York, Florida, the Cuomo in New York, DeSantis in Florida are basically the 2 governors that saved the majority for Kevin McCarthy and the Republicans.
Yes. Okay. Let's finish this Santos conversation briefly, and then I want to talk to you a little bit more about January 6th and such. But I do have to wrap this up with what he's actually alleged to have lied about, and how he's digging in. And here he is saying, no, he's not going to resign unless 142 people ask him to resign.
Congressman, what's your reaction to members of your own party calling for your resignation?
Are you planning to resign?
Congressman, what about
you resign?
Will
you resign if the voters,
if your voters call for 142 people ask for me to resign, I'll resign.
So he didn't get cut off. He said, if 142 people ask for me to resign, I'll resign. He meant 142,000. He meant, I believe, as voters. But just, it's such a perfect encapsulation of like, yeah, buddy, you should not be here. You're not right for this job. Here's just a little bit more, and a GOP congressperson responding to the amount of lies.
He claimed that he was Jewish and the grandson of Holocaust survivors. He claimed to have attended Horace Mann Prep School in the Bronx. He did not. He said he graduated Baruch College as the top 1% of his class, and he was the star volleyball player on the team, volleyball scholarship. He never even attended the school. He claimed he worked for Goldman Sachs and Citigroup. He didn't. He said his company lost 4 employees at the Pulse nightclub shooting. He did not. He claimed his mother's death was somehow tied to 9/11. This also appears to be false. There are many more. I could go forward. Should he resign? I mean, should he be in Congress?
You know, if it was me, I would resign.
I would resign. That's Don Bacon from Nebraska.
It's still a that politician couldn't just be like, yeah, he should. It's like he still couldn't say it. Like, it was still a political answer. He's like, well, if I was that person, I'm good and I would resign. You're like, well, you wouldn't, because you're not that person. Because that dude is awesome.
I'm going to date myself here, but there's like an old John Lovitz character from Saturday Night Live who would make the right, like, I actually stopped 9/11. Yeah, that's the ticket. Like that's what this guy is at this point. He's a joke. But like, he's
like the Forrest Gump but like the lying Forrest Gump of politics. Keep going, Allie.
But here's the last thing, Francesca. Like, yes, he's a horrible lying congressman, right? How is he any worse than unfrozen cableman Congresswoman Marjorie Taylor Greene?
Right.
Like, how is he any worse than Lowen Barber? Like, Republicans are willing to elect and stand by awful people who don't know anything and have no qualifications for the job. The fact that he made up his qualifications is actually not all that different than the congressmen who truly who have the same lack of qualifications and just like roll with it anyway. Yeah, Lauren Boebert has no business being in Congress, but but she's there, right? This is the Republican brand at this point to support and stand by idiots because they don't. And here's the larger point: because they don't take government seriously.
Exactly.
Right. Like
they
don't believe
they do take it serious. No, they take it serious because they understand it better than most, and that's why they can sabotage it.
I think it's more.
I think, and also, like, I think, and this is not a great point, and it's gonna funny. But I do mean it as someone that has traveled the country telling jokes to literally every walk of life on purpose, by design. Like, that was by design to go see this country. The Republicans have true representatives of some of these places, which is hard for people to A, admit, and B, accept.
Meaning they're all sort of dumb idiots who are faking it as well?
Yes. Yes.
I 100% agree with that. And I 100% agree with that because I think, like I'm saying, the idea.
No, yeah, I'm tying into your point. I'm agreeing with you, but I'm saying it in a weird time.
And can't work is shared by lots of people in this country, right? Lots of people in this country think that government is a joke, think that it can't ever work, think that it really doesn't matter who your representatives are because they're going to screw you in the end anyway. Like that's representative of a large, I would say a very large minority of this country thinks that government is absolute bullshit. And so they elect people who act and say and think the same way. And that is one of the reasons why I believe we can't have nice things in this country.
Yeah,
well, it ties into if their spirituality believes that there's an end time coming and then they self-fulfill that prophecy while they're doing it. Like, it all ties into that as well, which is a tough thing to defeat. Yeah.
I've said before that I think Donald Trump's election was the most cynical election in history. The most cynical. It was a ploy to basically blow it all up. Like, it's all screwed. I hate it all. So I think it was pure cynicism and white nationalism. What's going on, Frantifa? If you haven't already, subscribe to this channel right now. Hit that button. And also, you can become a patron and support the show every single week. Get access to bonus episodes and exclusive merchandise. Patreon.com/Bitchuation Room. Do it.